Years ago, my wife's grandmother gave her a painting from the 1810s. It's of a woman looking off to the side, holding a handkerchief. She's outside and there is a picket fence behind her. The artist used dark green for the forest behind her. It's blurry, but you can tell dense trees are in the background. At least that's what I think it was. We keep misremembering what this painting looks like. For years, my wife and I would talk about this creepy painting with friends and tell them she was doing laundry. We both clearly remember a laundry bucket at her feet. Both of us remember her facing the viewer. Both of us remember steps in the picture by the picket fence. From what I can remember from my last look at the picture, none of this was true. This painting used to make me feel dizzy. I would stand in front of it and kind of zone out. It's not like the painting would move or anything. It was actually the opposite. The painting looked as if it should have some movement to it, but it stood so intensely still. It was unsettling. I would just stare at it, taking in every detail, becoming dizzy and a little confused. Something would always snap me out of it. I used to work a job that started at 3 a.m., and I would walk the short 10 feet to the shower every morning at 2 a.m. In the hallway from the bedroom to the shower was the painting. I would wake up for work, barely alive, dragging my feet to get ready to take the shower. Every single morning I passed the painting, I would become wide awake. The feeling of something chasing me would come immediately. It was as if every single morning I had taken an edible and had a bad trip. I recall a few times the feeling was so intense I slammed the bathroom door, as if to lock something out. I started asking my wife if we could take it down about 6 months after we hung it up. My wife assured me, "She's not dangerous. It's fine." My wife is a lot more spiritual than I am. She is confident in her ability to navigate complicated relationships with spirits, ghosts, and demons. I was raised Catholic. Although I don't believe in religion, the fear beaten into me remains. We had this discussion repeatedly over the painting. My wife was convinced the energy attached to the painting was friendly. A viewer, never to take a part in the actual story. I was convinced this painting wanted to harm me. This is a massive stretch for someone that didn't believe in any kind of hauntings up until this point. The misremembering started a year after we got the painting. I still remember shouting to my wife one day as I passed the hallway, and something whispered to me. I looked at the painting, and I couldn't see her face anymore. I honestly can't remember if she was facing left or right. Either direction, she hid herself from the viewer. My wife looked and was thankfully on my side. The painting went into a box and into the storage area of our apartment in the second bedroom. I think the lady in the painting liked the box, but whatever energy she had spread into the room like cockroaches. We fed our cats in that room. Every morning, we would feed them, and I would get a pit in my stomach. Even in her box, I felt watched. What happens when you feel that every day is you get used to it. Like a kid who was abused by their family. It just becomes your environment, and you learn how to survive within it. Life continued, and years went by. We moved, and the painting went with. By this point, I had convinced myself I was paranoid, and the painting could stay. We moved again and adopted a dog. The painting came with. We had a falling out with a large portion of our family. The grandmother who gave us the burden was included in that falling out. Yet, the painting stayed in our care. When life takes over, you forget about the things that go bump in the night. Your focus is forced to the battles during the day. I guess this is my artsy way of explaining why we hung the painting up again. So much had happened already, we kind of laughed it off. We hung it specifically in the hallway outside our bedroom, in a way we couldn't see it from the bed. Although I told my wife it was fine, I also said I didn't want to see it from the bed. When we hung it, she looked different. I can't remember which direction she was facing this time, but it wasn't in the right way. I also talked to the painting. My wife assured me being kind to even an inanimate object could be helpful for the energy in the house. I would pass by and tell her good morning. I would say hello anytime I walked by. At first it was weird, but as mentioned before, it became very normal. She lay dormant as long as the pleasantries continued. That's honestly what I thought. It wasn't long until the lady in the painting wasn't doing laundry anymore. The wash bucket had disappeared, and she stayed still, hiding her face, holding a single white handkerchief in her hand. I started getting nightmares. She was never in my nightmares. I passed them off as general dreams you have of falling or losing someone you love. The picket fence disappeared. The steps appeared to the forest behind her. Now it became an argument about taking her down or not. My wife and I would have this discussion frequently. It became kind of like a joke. We would go out with friends and laugh about this painting we are misremembering. I took a picture of her on my phone and would ask people to try and remember what she looked like. All of our closest friends would look confused when they saw her a second time. I don't know what everyone was misremembering. There have been so many different variations of this creepy painting, it's hard to keep track. I started hearing knocks on the walls when I was alone. I started to feel like she was only dormant when my wife was around. I finally told my wife I was freaking out and the painting needed to come down. We ended up having an argument over it, and both of us said things that took higher precedence over the painting. We both cried, said we were sorry, closed the door, and went to sleep. We always shut the door before we go to bed because the cats will keep us awake if we don't. And there the painting was, in the hallway. That night, I woke up, unable to move, and I saw our bedroom door slowly creaking open. I used all my mental focus to move, but I couldn't. My dog started to growl. I tried to stare at what was cracking open the door. I was hoping it was one of our cats. I tried to slow my breathing, and when I couldn't, I screamed. It was like my jaw was wired shut. The door flew open, and I saw the painting hanging there, 6 feet away from where it should have been. My paralysis broke and I fully woke up. Suddenly it was morning, and I felt as if I were in a fog. My heart stopped when I saw the door was open. I wanted to throw up when I saw where the painting was hung up, plainly in view. My wife was screaming in her sleep, and I woke her up. I asked if she was okay, and she looked at me with tears in her eyes. She trembled as she whispered, "Did you open that door?" When she saw my face, she broke down. She told me she had sleep paralysis, and she saw something crawling from the door to the bed frame. She told herself if it was real, the dog would be reacting. That's when our dog started to growl. Something grabbed her ankle and began dragging her to the painting. Both of us sat up in bed and stared at her for a long while. Neither of us could comprehend how a painting can move from one side of the hallway to the other. Back in her box she went. I checked the side of the wall the painting was supposed to be on, and I found an empty hole the hardware used to be in. We talked about burning her, but feared any consequences of doing so. We were scared she attached to everything in our home, including us. One day, I accidentally kicked her over while looking for something else in our second bedroom. That night, my wife had more sleep paralysis, followed by the feeling of being grabbed and dragged to the painting. I don't remember what happened to me, but I know I was screaming in my sleep when my wife shook me awake. The next day, we hatched a plan. Every day I hope to dear God she's stuck in that rundown antique store we ditched her at. I feel tremendous guilt about just leaving it there without telling anyone, but since then we haven't had any supernatural experiences. Although I am happy things didn't get worse, I fear for her next victims. I'm telling you this as a caution to anyone who gets their home decor from second-hand antique stores. Check the dates of the painting you pick up, and if you can, look at them twice before purchasing.